Hello and welcome back to the 2024 Netrunner World Championship. I am Orbital Tangent, aka Josh, pronouns he, him.
I'm Eric Hayden, he, him.
All right, excellent. So we're getting back into the Netrunner action here, and we're going to take it to the table shortly. It looks like here we go. And we have Atien versus ManintheMoon. Both of these players on 6-4, so their records right now and whether or not they win this game is going to determine whether or not they make the Day 2 progressive cut.
We just had a peek through the decks before each round. We checked the decks for alt arts, so we're able to, commentate on the game intelligently. And there's some spice in Atien's deck right now. We're very excited to see some of it. And ManintheMoon on Freedom, that's a Big Daddy Freedom alt art, I think from a previous Worlds. I love that alt art. Atien is very prolific in the European alt art scene. There's a lot. I think a lot of the EMEA alt arts she did. So it's really exciting to have both these players on the cusp of making Day 2. Yep. This is going to be a very tense game.
Yep. And again, just to clarify these stakes for everybody at home. Whoever loses will be out. They will be eliminated from the tournament, and whoever wins goes on to Day 2 to try to fight for their life to be in the top 16 cut.
It is very exciting to see a Teia deck at this point in the tournament ready to make Day 2, because it's an ID that a lot of players have tried to make a very competitive deck out of and haven't found necessarily like a foothold in the competitive scene. And we've seen a couple of Teia decks, if not 2, if not 3, on stream today that have been very exciting. Local player Dan Bouchard for my area anyway has been doing well with one as well, so that's exciting. And I think ManintheMoon is probably, just because it's a Freedom deck, is probably something similar to what we saw in the last game with Fee doing a Tag Me Freedom Pailu similar deck that was, I think the original that we saw come out in the scene was a QTM deck. Tag Me, trash.
QTM being very innovative on that deck, going the full send with the counter surveillance Freedom deck, which is something you don't see very often these days, especially with Mindscaping and end of the line in the meta. So a very kind of risky deck, but as we saw with Fee's last game, a deck that can still play into tags and tag punishment and still put on quite a clinic of like how you can deal with those and basically disrespect them.
Right. There is some scary ice on this on the side of Teia. We see it, a Nancy alt art in hand.
Yes.
We saw a Saisentan, which is a good opener, just to say, you need to respect this, otherwise I'm either going to set you back, or if you stumble and make a mistake, flatline you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing on Atien's side just a triple install, no credit cards, no econ here, so just a triple install of ice. Icing up, it looks like all of the centrals.
Centrals and a remote, potentially? Or centrals and archives? It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to say. We don't know where the player's archives is at this point. I'm thinking archives to probably turn off Turtle.
Okay, yep, yeah. Well, I don't know that... Usually the counter-surveillance decks have been on God of War. But potentially Turtle, if that's a different variant of the Freedom list. It would be an interesting way to generate virus counters for the ID.
Yep. So notably, Fee's list we did see on Turtle.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely. Was that an install double advance?
It seems to be. So that makes me think that is one of the 2 remotes for Teia. Teia is an ID that limits the number of remotes the corp can have to 2.
Yeah, so we're seeing a double advance and a naked remote and an install of a second ice on a remote with nothing in it.
That reads NGO front to me. The double advance, install double advance, could potentially be a Charlotte as well.
Now, one of the interesting things here is you can play the mind game of, I know that you know that it's an NGO. So this could be an agenda. It would be a very bold move.
Atien just playing it cool. This reads an NGO, and therefore you won't touch it. I don't know what tempo. We're going to check it, respecting it. And
Yeah.
it is.
It
It's
is an NGO.
a World's Alt-Art NGO from last year, I believe.
Yep, from last year.
Very pretty.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
Just taxing a run, and as you noted, not any econ in that first turn, and you wanted to see it, ideally.
Absolutely. So a lot of ice coming online now, notably the Spider.
Ooh, Botulus on HQ, which is definitely somewhere that Freedom wants to be able to get in, hit over and over again, trash those critical operations out of hand.
Botulus also working as a battery for Freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Good passive that. You see Botulus, you see Fermenters just slowly ticking up. We see a Leech on the table already. So once you crack that HQ, then every run on HQ is going to give you more virus counters, and things are going to spiral out of control if Atien can't do something about it.
Atien having a think on the second Teia trigger card there. You know, potentially taking something back and then deciding they wanted to install a different one.
Resing of Vovo Azeti, which is an upgrade that's going to allow a lot of the ice that's going to stack up on these servers to be res very cheaply.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's really huge for Jinteki. A lot of their most painful ice being very expensive to res. So you have the Spider, you have Vampira Nasa, you have the Cloud Eater, I believe.
Cloud Eater, yeah,
Yep.
that's I think a 10 cost, really expensive, but pretty impactful when you have to encounter it, especially on the turn that it's resed.
And all of those ice also having lots of subroutines, so they're very annoying to deal with, even with these breakerless things like Botulus and things of that nature.
Second Leech getting installed. Getting into HQ here now that Botulus has been cooking for a little bit is going to be just running Archives just to get a Leech counter, virus counter on both Leeches. That's going to be a very easy way for Freedom to be very effective. If ManintheMoon just does like double, triple run on Archives, Atien won't be able to spend turn after turn just hard purging. So it's going to be
Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised to see an ice on Archives at some point.
right.
Just to, as you say, that's going to be crushing if it just keeps ticking up. So just to shut that down and make it not free.
I think that's an altar, not an altar, a black and white proxy of a bacterial reprogramming that just got drawn. And we're installing something in one of the remotes. No Atien trigger.
So I couldn't tell if that was an agenda that we saw installed.
Yeah, I don't know if it got
or if
jammed.
that was another upgrade.
Paladin Puemu is going to be a nice source. It came down very early and is going to be just generating a lot of money for installing cards, keeping the Freedom economy, which isn't like usually very rich, just going to be able to put down the things that need to get installed without having too much money.
Now, so notably, the Botulus can get through an Anansi at this point in time if that is what is on HQ. However, it is very risky to run with those upgrades, as one of them could be a virus, which would cause you a lot of pain.
Right. We saw Consume come down, which is a 5 influence card out of Apex, one of the only legal cards that sees play out of Apex, one of the many factions that's still surviving.
We're seeing a no-res.
And the bacterial.
Oh, the bacterial. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing for Atien, as that is going to allow them to control their draws for the foreseeable future and sculpt their hand. So the bacterial is very, very good for the corp when you do score it as the runner.
So we see 3 Tattoo Bolas and a non-C. So we're ordering. We get to see the ordering. This is exciting. 2 Tattoo Bolas on the top.
Probably wanted to turn that econ on.
I think that is. It's the upgrade. What is the upgrade?
That looks like a Lacosta.
No, it's there's a sysop. Oh my, I'm forgetting the name of the sysop. Who makes you do a side game and
Adrian Seiss.
Adrian Seiss, thank you.
That was an Adrian Seiss, are you sure?
Yeah, there was definitely an Adrian Seiss in hand. I think so. The color palette is very unique. That is Lacosta,
Yep.
which is just going to allow, something just to tick up passively. Could be an agenda.
Could be a Biovault as well.
Yeah. Do you think this is a Glacier-style deck? Seems like it's a sort of a tempo scoring. But with a Vovo there, just being able to install lots of ice and res it is a potential overriding the Botulus. Yeah.
Both denying the counters for trashing and then denying a breaker. So ManintheMoon can't really get in anywhere without a face check, and a lot of Jinteki's ice at a certain number of credits are very scary to face check.
Right. 2 leeches with each with 2 counters means that most breakers will be able to do some work here, but we got to find it.
Absolutely.
And we got to find it before Atien starts to build something that's just impenetrable.
Yeah, ManintheMoon also has his econ engine set up here. Lots of credits on the table, and that consume, once you start trashing things, will build up so that you eventually are able to grab a lot of credits off of it.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we're seeing an Andrej.
Andrej and Botulus might be like the full suite of breakers, potentially, just working on that. Now, Andrej is something that you need to use hosted virus counters to break subroutines, and you get them by trashing cards, and Freedom's very good at trashing cards. But you need to pay with cards out of your hand to get power, although the leech counters are going to be helping with that.
So we're seeing a run and an ice res on R&D here. It's just a Thimble Rig.
Thimble Rig is a bit of a liability here, just because you can get through it with no effort, basically. 1 virus counter off of the Andrej, but you can't. It does stop right now.
Yeah, so Andrej is going to have to build up virus counters before that Thimble Rig becomes a huge liability. But yes, you are correct that eventually it could be allowing Freedom to get into R&D and get some free trashes.
You almost want something like a Contaminate to start up the Andrej, as much as that card doesn't get played a whole lot. I don't. Okay, we have two advancements at the start of the Corp turn with the Lacosta. Notably, the Lacosta does not need to advance a card that can be advanced, so that could just be any old card.
Yep, could be. So we're seeing a hedge fund. There is a Sadaka in hand, so it looks like this deck is on Sadaka.
Sadaka is a trash ice that will, or trap ice, excuse me, that will allow the Corp to trash a resource if you trash a card out of HQ. The targets here are limited right now to Paladin Plemo. But if we see an impactful resource come down other than that, then it could be a very nasty surprise.
Notably for this deck, it also doubles as a mini bacterial, allowing the Corp to control their draws.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of multifunction.
Yeah, that first subroutine normally not mattering.
Right, yeah. It tends to be played for trashing the impactful resources like Twinnings and things like that. Have we seen a whole lot of Teia installs here? I feel like we haven't. Or was that last turn, install in the other remote to get the ice? I think that's usually the play pattern, right?
It looks like we saw an Teia trigger for that additional remote, yes.
Okay, that's good. That's one of the ways that this can be a very powerful ID, because you don't need to pay the additional install costs for all the ice as they stack up. And that's just a Charlotte with nothing on it. Gonna get trashed here. Are we trashing with for 0 with Freedom, I assume?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Right. Getting a Consume and an Andrej, kind of jump-starting the machine. And there's an impactful resource that just came down. It's a Bonhar, Bonhar Gantulga. So that is a resource that's going to allow ManintheMoon to just run straight through those single ice servers, churning their subroutines into do 1 net damage. So the Thimble Rig becomes do 1 net. Not all that much of a threat. The Tattoo Bowl are the same. So that's.
Oh wow, we're seeing a quad ice remote.
That's a deep, yeah. So, okay, here leveraging the Teia ability to really stack up that server. With the Vovo sitting there, that's now each ice gets a discount of 2 credits. So 2, 4, 6, 8 credits. That's going to save.
Oh, wow. That is an incredible amount of credits there. Making that small stack of credits, that 6, look a little bit more scary than it otherwise would be. As you pointed out earlier, though, that Thimble Rig may be a liability. However, Thimberrig, at the start of your turn, you can swap it to somewhere else.
Right.
So it could be buried at the bottom of that remote, sort of hiding it and getting something more threatening on R&D.
Right. And that ability to swap Thimblerig happens at the beginning of the Corp turn, and then anytime someone passes the Thimblerig, which is right now after this this net damage. Or we've just named. Okay, we're ManintheMoon is indicating which server the Banhar is assigned to at the start of the turn by placing it in front of it. So it's assigned to R&D and now making a run. Rolling a dice, not a heavy dice to do the net damage, and it's another Ottery.
Yeah, you're not unhappy to see that go as Freedom.
Yeah, you don't need it. You don't expect to see program trashes, I don't think. And trashing an Adrian Seiss.
Yep. So you were correct.
Yay.
Adrian Seiss.
I love that art. It's such a cool color palette.
Absolutely, very unique, even among Jinteki cards.
Running the remote here, and we're going to pop an NGO front to fuel all of the reses that are about to happen. That's the thing, is anytime there's a double advanced card on the table, it could potentially just be 8 credits out of nowhere.
Yep, so it looks like that's an Anansi.
Ooh, boy.
So that's going to be very difficult for Audrey to get through normally. However, there are several leeches there, so Audrey can get up to strength. How much can Audrey break?
I mean, so between the Devil Charm and the leeches, this is not a problem. It is pump 3 strength for 1 card in your grip, starting at 0. Needs to get up to 5 here, so you could just spend all the leech counters if you wanted. You could trash 1 card from hand and spend 2 leech counters. You know, there's mix and match options. You could just Devil Charm. Looks like we're trashing a Steelskin, using Audrey to draw 2 cards and pump simultaneously. This is the synergy of the Strike Fund, Steelskin, Audrey package. Also, very useful utility that we saw out of mulch decks in the previous year, where the Audrey just allows you to sort of do that whenever you need to, which can be very, very useful.
We are seeing a Jack out after that, however. So not continuing after the Audrey is cleared.
Right, because we've used the virus counters on the Audrey to break the subroutines. So after that run, you're worried about breaking
Advance the score?
Ooh, it's a Fuji. That's a 5/3 that's going to do 2 net damage.
Yep, notably when scored or stolen, so it's defensive and proactive.
So 2 net, we'll see what we got. It was another Audrey in a daily cast.
Yeah, and that being basically slow rolled in that glacier.
Right. Yeah, it just sat there, and Lacosta just ticked it up. Another ice on HQ, which is definitely, I think, the server that you're... Oh, okay, both centrals just getting guarded up. So, yeah, it's a Glacier Teia.
Yeah, it looks like it.
5 credits, though. Only 5 credits.
And even though early ManintheMoon looked to have a set-up board, it looks like Atien is swinging this around to control the tempo of this game.
Okay, yep. We're reminding to reassign Banhar at the start of the runner's turn. How's Atien going to be getting money again here? Obviously, the Tattoo Blows will help. Passively, we sort of expect, after seeing all 3 of them on that bacterial score, that there's probably some more out on the board somewhere. So that's just lying in wait. But otherwise, Atien's going to need some sort of money generation to proceed, I think.
Yeah, I think that key breakpoint there is that 8 credits, because you do want to threaten an Anansi with the Banhar trying to get through your ice, because an Anansi against a Banhar could just be lethal.
Absolutely lethal, yeah. Normally an Anansi is representing 4 net damage, but with a Banhar turning all the subroutines into net damage, it just becomes, I think, a 6.
6, yes.
So that can just straight up flatline a runner out of nowhere.
Yep. And that's not what you want to see. And even if you do have the steel skin to save you, it's still normally not what you want to see. You don't want to trash your whole hand just to get into a server.
I think we're going to, seeing the Paladin installing 2 credits off the Paladin and 1 real credit to install a Twinning, and then trashing a Strike Fund out of hand using Audrey's instant speed ability to gain 2 credits back up. Just like I said, a utility action that's built in when you have those cards in your hand in the deck.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You don't have to be in a run window to do that, Audrey. So that's a clever move. If you're going to trash the card anyway at end of turn, which Man in the Moon looked like he was, you might as well just send it to Audrey, and then you get 2 credits for your trouble.
Okay, so we did see another Fujii drawn into hand. We saw something. Okay, a Spin Doctor installed in the in the basically the spare remote, and I believe an Teia trigger to install what is possibly that Fujii. I think that is an Anoetic. I can't recall what that. I looked at that and thought it is very interesting. Oh, Mindscaping. I think that's a Mindscaping.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, so this is Teia working on controlling the flow of cards. And then it also looks like this is Teia looking to kind of slow roll in a big Glacier remote.
That is a big Glacier remote. That's very scary. And Man in the Moon has to get in somewhere to be able to get in somewhere else. It's a bit of a chicken and the egg, right?
Absolutely. So one of the things to note about the big Glacier remote, because of the cost reducer there, any Anansi's are online. Vampire Anansis are online. Yeah.
Popping a Spin Doctor potentially before the start of turn. So it's something that you want to do often if you have a specific card in your archives that you need to draw potentially this turn. You would be happy to draw. In this case, both an Adrian Sice and a NGO front getting shuffled back in, and then we'll do the mandatory draw.
Atien might also not like the cards that they were able to look at on top when controlling the card flow. So the shuffle, gets you new, fresh cards that you may want to see.
Yeah, Spin Doctor is an incredible utility card, and I appreciate that it is in the game. It's a lot of fun. One of my favorites. That's a Sadaka. That's the trap card where now that the twinning is on the table, I think we just see, the twinning or an Aquaceres crew. Both juicy targets for twinning. Which one of these are you going to trash if you're Atien here? The Aquaceres crew or the twinning?
You're probably going to trash the twinning, I would say. That's going to be something that you can weather it because of the bacterials, but you would rather not.
Oh, can this be broken? Because Audrey's an AI breaker. No. Oh, yeah, it just got broken with Audrey. I sort of missed that, I suppose. Normally, you can't break Sadaka because it's a trap program. Banhar. Turn to a Banhar. That's right. That's not the time that you want to res it necessarily, but it is 2 net. Yep, sorry about that. Totally missed the Banhar on the server. That is a Rashida. That's a Rashida Heme.
Yep.
Thanks to production to keeping us straight here on comms. Doing 2 jobs at once. All right. I think Man in the Moon probably breathing a sigh of relief to have seen the Sadaka without it actually doing its job.
So we're seeing the unrevealed card get a counter on it. We're seeing fresh cards off the top of R&D now. We're seeing something else go into the remote. Another upgrade.
And double advance. Okay, so this is either another NGO just to bait a run.
No, it has to be an upgrade. One of those has to be an upgrade. One of them has to be a Biovault.
Does it? Which one has to be? Because the Lacosta can advance anything, right? So
you're right. The Lacosta. Well, one of them would be an upgrade of some.
Yes.
Of some.
Yep. Oh, Banhar.
Flavor.
Banhar on the remote into the
Anansi.
Yeah, this is brave. Installing a Nuka. Going to click the Nuka to drop just to survive the 6 net. Are we doing this?
That would be an incredible play, but how else? How do you get deeper into the server?
Right.
I mean, I think that's the real question.
If you let a Fujii get scored, can you do that and still win the game? Is maybe the question. Because then you're 6-0.
Yeah, that would be real rough.
Of course, putting the Banhar on the server doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to run it. Oh, also
we're seeing the crew.
We have the crew. That's the answer. We have the crew and Devil Charm, so we could run and trash the Anansi.
But if you run into another Anansi, which probably won't happen because Atien is lower on credits. I did not notice that.
I believe the text on Bonhar says the first ice you encounter during a run gains, this benefit. But the crew also says the first ice you are encountering. So I think that the Bonhar is used up. Right. I think the Bonhar gets used up in that process. So the Anansi's trashed. 3 credits. Still representing Seisentan because of Vovo Azeti.
Now it is possible we see a Tattoo Bola rezzed on this remote.
Tattoo would be good. Oh, a Surveyor. This is an alt art Surveyor, which is a card that doesn't see a ton of play, but in this deck has a lot of legs because it gains strength that scales with the number of ice installed on the server.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's currently at 6. And it does have trace subroutines, but those also scale.
Yeah,
with
the whole thing
server.
gets scarier. I believe it is...
It's trace to do 2 tags and then trace to end the run.
Right. And yeah, X is twice the number. So it's basically 6. It's 6 here, right? So it's strength 6. It's going to trace 6 to give 2 tags and trace 6 to end the run.
Yep.
I wonder if Atien has any tag punishment in this
So
deck.
we're seeing a res of a Biovault and a pop.
Yep. So the install double advance, as you called it, was a Biovault.
So we're seeing the other advanceable thing tick up. One would guess an agenda. Take 2 credits.
And an attitude adjustment. Yeah. Just putting agendas back into the deck, making some money. There we go. We see a blood in the water and a bacterial reprogramming.
Okay, so we're seeing Atien go up to 4, making the remote a little bit more scary now.
Yeah, Atien.
As if Surveyor wasn't scary
It's
enough.
a pretty scary server, even on 4 credits. That Vovo is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Absolutely. Making that Jinteki ice still scary, even at low credit counts.
Jinteki always has the way of making the player seem kind of nasty, but I've been interacting with Atien at the artist colony counter, selling art all weekend, and they're just delightful. So it's always a funny juxtaposition of the nice person playing the nasty corp deck.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, we put Bonhar on the remote server.
So it looks like ManintheMoon is thinking about not letting this server go. Just trying to challenge this server, not letting whatever is in there tick up.
It's fun. We did get an advancement from the Lacosta on the Lacosta, I think, which is just a thing that can happen. And sometimes you can use those with a card like a Trick of Light to help move them on to something in advance. I don't know if we'll see Trick of Light in Atien's deck, but...
Lacosta, I believe, also not optional, so you do actually have to advance something.
You got to put something on it, and that's why they sort of end up on there sometimes. You might not care about them, but you just do it. Both players poor, but that's the thing about Ice and Corpse is that once they're rezzed, generally speaking, they stay rezzed, which is obviously a little bit less in this meta with all the crews going around and trashing things.
Yeah, it's just that it looks like ManintheMoon doesn't really have a way to get in that's great that is going to pump up that Consume and that Audrey. Now, the leeches can go up, but if you can't get in anywhere, those counters aren't really going to do anything for you.
Yeah. Audrey being a bit of a liability would that once you get locked out, similar to Turtle, right, to Amakua, once you get locked out, it's hard to reboot the thing, generally speaking.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, ManintheMoon having a think on the last click here.
Or the
Is it the first click? I think maybe the first, because we saw the Bonhar name. I don't think we've seen much happen. Sorry, we got in the tank. Pinhole threading. That is a Cat Shen pinhole threading alt art.
So Pinhole probably going through archives. Yeah, into hit the Volvo.
Yeah, the Volvo.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Now this ice is a lot harder to res.
Yep.
That Volvo had to go.
It had to go, and it notably gives Audrey and Consume a counter.
Ooh, that is good. Pinhole's so good.
Yeah.
So good. Now running with the protection of Bonhar, potentially hitting Steelskins. Oh, we see another Anansi, which cannot be rezzed.
No, it cannot.
Missed what that first one was. We would, I think Atien would love for it to be a Tatubola.
Absolutely.
That is not, that is a, oh, it's the trace one. What is it?
Kokujin?
Yeah.
I believe that's a side game.
It's a side game. I'm not trace. Yes, it's a side game that can boop you in. But what's the target? You would boop them into the surveyor probably. Okay, Konjin. So here, the runner and the corp are going to play a side game where they secretly bid 0 to 2 credits, and if the bids differ, then you choose another res piece of ice, and the runner just encounters it, and that could be pretty nasty here. But it's a 3 strength, and Audrey can break this, I think. Because a card...
no, it does not have a subroutine.
But Audrey's an AI breaker. Oh, it doesn't have a subroutine. There's no subroutines to break. Of course. That is the funny thing about this ice. It just, unless it's hushed.
One of the moves that could happen here is a boop into the thimble rig, forcing a break there, and then relying on the surveyor to end the run.
Huh.
Because thimble rig...
Wait, I don't follow. What are you saying?
I believe because isn't Kokujin encountered before the boop?
It's just encounter, right? So the runner encounters that ice. It doesn't actually move you. It just says you have to encounter that ice. So I think that you would encounter, the surveyor here potentially, and then it would fire its subroutines. And then if it doesn't end the run, you just proceed past the Kokujin. Konjin.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the triggering of the Banhar here.
Oh, right, Banhar.
Yeah.
Huh? Well, we've already encountered an ice, so the Banhar is already used up. So there's no net damage that can happen, right?
Yep.
This board state, a lot of creative decks being played. It's really testing the limits of my Netrunner knowledge.
Yeah, lots of interesting interactions in this deck being relied upon, I believe.
I think
both decks.
That looked like an Audrey pump for the strike fund. How do we get past the Konjin? I missed how we got past the Konjins.
Won the side game.
Won the side game. I was distracted trying to figure out what was happening while I missed it, I suppose.
Yep. So dealing net damage?
Yep. Hitting a moshing and...
And it looks like also getting rid of that Lacosta.
Wow, tore down that whole remote.
Yep. Ticked up Audrey. Ticked up Consume. On 0 credits. 6 points. Just needed to touch one more agenda.
Man, things were looking grim for ManintheMoon for a while. Grim for ManintheMoon for a while there.
Yeah, absolutely. Making the moves, though, making some bold moves that were a little risky, but that risk paid off.
Okay, so now, without Devova, with no credits on hand, Atien's in a difficult position here. How did they get back into this game? This is a rough spot. I think you can see a little bit of disappointment potentially on Atien's face. That is a tough spot to be in.
Hansai review?
Hansai review. I mean, you need 5 credits first, right? To play the card. So
yeah, you do.
We need to bounce back. An NGO or a Charlotte would help. I'm not sure if there's Charlottes in this deck. So we're going to be spending some time potentially just triple clicking for credits here. Yeah, we just see through. Just click for 3.
Click. Yeah.
And it's just what you have to do sometimes when you bottom out. Hopefully that turn off doesn't give ManintheMoon enough time and leverage to just get in and find that last agenda.
So ManintheMoon needs to touch one more agenda, is maybe looking at doing the aggressive running on R&D.
We haven't seen any counters on the twinning so far. Paladin has been ticking up, so if Paladin can install something, and Paladin's going to be unhappy this turn if it doesn't get used. then that would allow at least seeing 2 cards on R&D, which might mean the game, because ManintheMoon can get in here. If Atien can't res that outermost piece of ice, the Thimblerig's just going to do a net.
Yep. So Paladin appears to be over and unhappy already, so we did see a Leech Trash, I believe, to take care of that.
Okay. A lot happening in this game. We see a Solidarity Badge being installed. That's going to get, card draw or tag removal for trashing cards each turn. But it seems simply installed so that the twinning counter could be charged off the Paladin. Running in, using the Paladin, getting to see on HQ, getting to see 2 cards on HQ. Could be the game. That's an Anemone.
Anemone, yeah.
We're going to trash this with Freedom. Yes.
Yep, getting rid of it. Yeah, you don't want, since you are trashing all of your own cards, you don't want that to be lethal. And an Anemone, a surprise Anemone, especially with Banhar, can be devastating.
Yep, and that was just a Tattoo Bolo was the second access. The Freedom Trash, obviously charging the Audrey back up to make that potentially going to happen one more time next turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do we see any agendas in hand? We just saw the hand for a second and I missed it.
So we saw installs.
Double install.
Double
this could
advance.
Be just another, it feels like another NGO. It has to be almost. If it is, then I think you kind of have to either assume that Atien doesn't have the agenda in HQ or is sort of praying that it looks like there isn't an agenda in HQ.
Yeah. So, maybe trying to get the runner to think that it is an NGO.
And we did see the Paladin get trashed off its own credits, I think, just
Spin Doctor.
Which is difficult. With the Paladin gone, charging the twinning is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
We saw that. It looks like the Banhar is on the remote, the R&D now.
Okay, so that Spin Doctor is getting removed from game to shuffle in cards. Looks like NGO and one other card that unfortunately I didn't track there.
Volvo. Apologies, but Banhar is not assigned. That was the start of the Corp tournament, so.
Yes, it's in Italian. I look at the 3 cards. I can rearrange them and draw one. I can trash 1 card from HQ to trash a resource.
Players having a little bit of a discussion. Okay, no, apologies. This is still the runner's turn. I lost track with the Corp shuffling in with Spin Doctor, running HQ here.
Yeah, notably, it's been a very long day for us as well, so we are sort of losing track of
I'm getting
the
fuzzy.
flow state of the game a little bit. And these decks are complicated for both players and for the commentators as well.
We saw draw a spin there.
Yeah, so another spin. We're seeing agendas in hand as well.
So is this the Sadaka firing? It is.
Yeah, looks like it. And we're seeing a pull
It's
and
a
that's
Surveyor.
Yeah.
Which, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not going to be able to trash with Freedom.
Yep. So there's 1 click remaining. It looks like
ManintheMoon
is going back and looking for that agenda and looking for it, and it gets it.
Oh, that's the game.
It gets it,
wow.
and that's the game.
Wow.
So ManintheMoon will be advancing to the progressive cut and the final 3 rounds of Swiss in day 2.
That was just before time on the round. That was like 20 seconds before time in the round got called, and it was in definitely in ManintheMoon's favor there, being a 6 on 3, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that there could have been a score there very quickly on Atien's side, but man, that game looked it looked unwinnable for ManintheMoon for a minute there.
Yeah, absolutely it did. So I think that this speaks to the quality of player that ManintheMoon is. Having some results that we've seen over the course of his career. When it looks really bad, when you're down and out, sometimes you continue to build the board, you continue to make the moves that you can make. And if you can make those moves that look a little bit sketchy, sometimes they can pay off. That remote not looking like it was challengeable for quite a while, being a classic, one of those things we call a clown car remote, but ManintheMoon trying to just get in there, trash all the things in it, and that looked like it really paid off because from there, Atien just couldn't come back from my estimation.
These are the kind of narratives that I think that this game produces so well, and it does it so frequently too, is you get these games where it's just one player, there's no way out, and then they find the solution somehow against all odds and come back for the win. And it happens over and over again with good players. It's what keeps me playing this game. It is like the most fun to watch. So
yeah, same. I mean, that happened over and over again today. That was a classic narrative that we saw across so many games where it looked like the games were lost. It looked like the games were something you could not come back from. Either the corp was up or the runner was up, and they were controlling the game. And often, sometimes those losing players were putting on a clinic. They were making all the right moves up until they didn't.
Netrunner's a great game, man. It's really good.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. So, well played to both players. Again, ManintheMoon is going to be advancing on. That was our final round that we'll be commentating.
Right.
And I am actually myself going to be hopping off comms. I will be back tomorrow. This gentleman right here is going to sit in with someone else to take you through the standings. But to everybody at home, I really appreciate you tuning in, listening to me talk about this game in what little way I can and with what little knowledge that I have.
Give yourself more credit.
And it's been a lot of fun. I'm really glad to be here at Worlds. So I'll be back soon. Thank you very much. Always be running, and Eric will be back with you with another commentator to give you some more news and recap the day.
We'll see you soon.
Welcome back to the 2024 World Championships. This is just the wrapping of day one. My name is Andrej from the Metro Grid. I go by he, him.
I'm Eric from Neon Static. I also go by he, him.
Thanks so much for joining us again. This has been a fantastic day. It is getting late here. We're 11 rounds in from 203. It's only 9:40. We've been here since 8:30 in the morning. It's been a great day, and hopefully you've been enjoying the stream. 203 players vying, just playing some single-sided Swiss. We've had the entire system shut down. It's got repaired. It's on another platform. Like, a lot of work goes on behind the scenes, and it's just been such a great day. We're going to give you a quick recap. So right over there on the other side of this wall, people are getting their prize support after day one of Swiss. Now, tomorrow brings a very exciting day. On day two, there's still more Swiss rounds. There are 3 more Swiss rounds, and how it works is all the players who have received at least 21 points today, so that's 7 wins, will be returning tomorrow to play 3 rounds of single-sided Swiss, starting very early in the morning before the start event, and from there we're going to be cutting from what is now 51 players returning down to 16.
It's a lot. That's a lot of paring down that needs to happen.
Yes, it is aggressive. And it's single-sided Swiss, so there's no 2-for-1s. We're just going to get some like really good, clean games until there's only 16 players left. We're going to give you a quick update again. You can follow at home on Aesop's tables. Please don't all refresh at once. It's been holding on, that's for sure. We're just going to give a couple shout-outs to some players. Again, 51 players will be returning tomorrow. The stream will be here still tomorrow, starting early. You can find us on YouTube and Twitch. You know where you're watching right now. Huge shout-out has to go to Jai, 31 points, undefeated.
A tie.
An ID.
An ID.
One ID last round. Jai was wiped. Paired against D, they both. Yeah, I think
we
this
don't
makes
need
sense.
this right now,
we
right?
Don't need to do this.
We're
go for dinner.
Is that confirmed cut?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not the best maths person
I'm
with this sort of
terrible
thing.
with ID, in which case it makes me worried to ever offer it, especially in single-sided Swiss.
You need to have a friend you can ask, but I'm pretty sure Jai on 31 points going tomorrow feels really good going into the top 16. Now, making day 2, making top 16, people have different, goals of what they want to land, but also just the higher seed you are going into the top cut, it's the better. It's an advantage because you're going to be paired first against 16th. You get the side choice. It really matters. Following that, Sokka, your 2-time world champion, just following up on 27 points, while also Chenchling, Rotom Appliance. We have a couple 27s. Kizra, Arizon, and Tak. We've had the pleasure to see a couple of those players on stream, all on 27 points. A fantastic standing. Dion 26 with 2, I believe, draws to the day, putting them specifically uniquely at that very strange number. And then we have a field of 24s and, of course, all the 21s.
There have been... Okay, so first of all, 203 Netrunner players, mostly getting through 11 rounds of Netrunner.
That's a lot.
There's so many games that just happen out there. And every single person, and you're walking around after games, has a story to tell you about something that just happened in that game. Like, I have to tell you before you... No, stop. Don't walk away. Yeah. You need to hear this story. And it's like...
It's been nice.
This is the thing about this game that is not... You can't recreate it in any other way. I don't know.
No. We've been walking around talking to people, whether it's their first tournament or their 8th tournament. Chenchling, 8 world championships in a row, finding himself at table 1, saying like, hey, I think I'm doing this. Yeah, Sokka, it's like, that's a hard matchup for sure, but super stoked to see him.
Local player Bushi, notably, for me, I want to shout out. In 13th place, Bushi is a champion of this game. It does a huge amount of organizing.
If you're on the East Coast,
you know Dan B, right? And made it to 13th place with 8 and 3. It looks like, just a really, really good showing for Dan. So, like, shout out to Dan, a friend of ours. The King coming in. Let's see, was that 8? I can do math, right? 5 plus 3 is 8 and 3 as well.
Yeah. Some strong scores. We got to see the King on stream, which is really great against Sokka.
That was amazing.
We were 10 rounds in, and Jeff made a little joke. We got one more round. You can leave if you want to. We'll prize you out, but otherwise, it's getting late. And there was a bit of a chant, one more round, and I think everyone's still playing, but this should be it.
But it's just one more game, right? What's one more game?
And the room goes for the chant, which, you love to hear it. This might be it for today. Again, this is only day 1 of Swiss. If you want to come back tomorrow early in the morning here on West Coast time, we'll be starting with 3 more rounds of single-sided Swiss. From that point on, we're going to a top 16 cut. That is double elimination, as you might know, in top brackets. And you're going to be in for a treat. Some of the best Netrunner you're going to be seeing this year. Televised here again, if you're watching on Twitch and YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a great day. I know I've had a great time. Huge shout out to the stream production team that have been off camera, just killing it. It's been an absolute treat. And with that, we'll be back real soon for day 2 of the 2024 Netrunner World Championship. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.